Aloha, everybody. We've got an interesting drive here today. We're going to be winding through some mountain roads down and ending at Costco. And this is not just any Costco. This is the world's busiest Costco, and that is Lake Costco in Hawaii. So here we go. Right off the bat, I'm going to put us into chill because I have been driving in chill so much more lately than I did in V13. Chill seems to be wanting to default to about 2 miles over the speed limit, and it just feels really good overall. I think it'll do well in these mountain roads. We're kind of in this tight parking area. We got these posts in our way, and FSD is going to have to get through here. Does it have the clearance? Nope. It's doing a good job getting around them, not hitting anything. We're on the main path here. Bring up the cameras so we can keep an eye on lane centering and everything. As we make our way down, I want to talk about the FSD take rate. I saw that Chuck Cook posted a video, his last drive with Possum, and he was talking a lot about how are we going to get FSD to be widely adopted. And I've been thinking about that a lot lately because 12% of the Tesla fleet taking FSD is just not a very good take rate at all. So what is it? I mean, why would you buy a Tesla and not use these capabilities? And I'm sure the reasons are maybe a little bit different for everybody, but as he brought up, price is a factor, and also trust in the system is a factor. And I kind of want to break it down and figure out how can they get this to go wide. And I think ultimately you got to buy a Tesla first, obviously, right? So how are they going to get people to get into the driver's seat and buy these vehicles in order to even give them access to the ability to use FSD? Ooh, we just hit a big pothole there. I don't know if you saw it. It was filled with water and we went right through it. Um, so that's a real challenge for the marketing team at Tesla. How do we get people to buy these cars? And there's always around Tesla, there's always been huge amounts of ebb and flow. And of course, one little thing goes wrong with a Tesla, and the whole world knows about it. I think that's important to keep them accountable, but at the same time, this technology is absolutely incredible. And I think that the more people that use it, the safer our roads will become, and the better we will all be for it in the end. Um, so assuming that marketing can get people to buy a Tesla, which I absolutely agree with Chuck, I think you need to unify the Tesla brand with FSD. If you buy a Tesla, good job slowing down for that car there. Great job. If you buy a Tesla, it should be like the legacy cruise control. It's there if you need it. If you don't want to use it, you don't use it, you know? If you buy a Tesla, you have FSD included. That's part of what you purchased when you bought the car. If you want to use it, please do. If not, and you just enjoy driving manually, or maybe you haven't built up your confidence yet, you have that option as well. Uh, so I do think that they need to unify the Tesla brand with FSD and make that an included package. Assuming you've got people in the car, and as we know already, lots of people have Teslas that either aren't using FSD because of bad past experiences, or um, maybe they don't fully trust it yet, or they don't see a need for it. They don't think it'll bring that much value to their lives. Or maybe they purchased it and they had bad experiences with it, and so they just don't turn it on. Maybe maybe they share a car that has FSD and they don't understand it, and so they don't use it. Um, how do we get those people? Ooh, really hard brake there. We went very slow around that curve, and we were doing just fine. You could see we were in the lines, but the car kind of almost came to a complete stop there. I wonder what that was. Maybe some foliage on the side. Uh, But anyway, so people have these cars, they have access to FSD and they're not using it. how can we get them to take it? And uh, I talked earlier today. I talked to my grandfather. He's 79, and my mom, who's in her 50s, about if they had a Tesla with FSD, would they use it? And my mom said, absolutely, I would use it. I'm scared of driving in general, and it stresses me out. So I would absolutely use it. My grandfather, on the other hand, was a little more reluctant, He's worried about things like what if the system just goes down mid-drive, um, and the car is just broken and it puts me in a dangerous situation in traffic. What if it does something the way that I wouldn't do it, and I don't like it? So I think there's different concerns for different people. The big thing that I took away from my conversation with him is just developing that trust in the system, because he was telling me that very rough roads there. I think maybe we could be taking this a little bit slower. We're right around the speed limit, a couple over, but that was some pretty rough road that I would have took maybe 5 miles slower. He was a little cautious at first when Uber came out, just because you're trusting someone else that you don't know to drive you. And I imagine this would be a lot like when your kid learns how to drive, and you're trying to teach them what to do, and they're doing it a way that might be fine, but that's not what, like, you're just not in control, right? You're giving up an amount of control, not only to a human, not only to a stranger, but to a computer system that you may or may not understand how it works. And how do we get people to trust that? I think that's going to require a long-term proven track record. We're developing that with FSD beta, FSD supervise, and into the future here. But people need to see a track record that FSD is safe. And not only is it safe, but it's safer than humans, which we already know it is. FSD and autopilot combined being almost 9x safer than human driving, right? And that's only going to get better. And I would assume it would be an even better number if it was just FSD. I think one of my subscribers mentioned that in the comments, and I agree with that. Um, but if someone had a Tesla, right, they bought the car, and Tesla is now unified their brand with the autonomous driving model, so it's included in the price of the car, they can choose to turn it on and build that trust slowly. Try it on the highway. Try it on, we've got some vines hanging down here. The car slowed down a bit. We did hit a very, very thin vine. Um, I would have gone through that as a human too. It wasn't like a massive obstacle or anything. But um, they can choose to turn it on and build up their trust as they see fit on, not very populated roads, maybe just on the highway at first, and then moving into city and little by little, because we can give free trials all day, but what happens if the person still doesn't feel comfortable after that 30 days? They need more time. You can't you can't expect someone to use something, even if you tell them, hey, this is going to reduce your stress, it's going to make you safer, it's going to make the people around you safer, including pedestrians. Um, and overall, it's just going to be, here's a dog wandering in the middle of the road, FSD stopping and giving plenty of space for this dog. Let's see how this plays out. And there we go. Just as she got to her truck, FSD went, kind of broke a little bit there to let this guy through. Awesome. Good job, FSD. So you can tell people the facts all day long, but until they really feel comfortable, I'm not sure they're going to use it. And so how can you be putting a barrier, which is price, saying, please use this system, it's better. I know you don't trust it, but you're going to have to pay $100 a month in order to use it past this trial to get comfortable. I just don't see people doing that. I think they're going to think autopilot's good enough, or I'm just going to drive myself because I'm doing it anyway. So I think if they got if they got Tesla to include full self-driving in the package of the car, in the price of the car, that would do wonders for the usage rate at that point. I think it's a really interesting problem to think about, of separate from the problem of teaching a computer to drive a car through space safely with other moving obstacles. But there's a separate problem of how do we psychologically get people to accept this technology? How do we get them to not only feel comfortable with it, but confident in it to the point that they would rather have FSD do their driving for them than themselves drive? How do we get them to feel confident in putting their children in the back of a robotaxi? Because you're putting all the passengers in the vehicle, their lives at the whim of the driver, and in this case, that's FSD. So you've got to have an immense amount of trust there. I don't know. You guys tell me what you think. Um, I I agree with Chuck absolutely. At some point, and maybe that's after the development of FSD is out of the supervised state and into unsupervised, maybe instead of, charging more for unsupervised, maybe you take the approach of let's include it in the cars, get people to use it, let's get widespread adoption. Because once you use FSD and you feel what it feels like in this driver's seat to arrive to your destination stress-free, to not be extra grumpy after a long day of work sitting through 45 minutes of traffic on your way home. Once you feel that, I have a hard time thinking that people are going to want to go back, especially if that's included in the price of the car. I know that's a tough financial problem to solve, maybe, but Tesla, figure out a way to do it. Figure out a way to do it because it's going to benefit everybody as well as your brand. So let's check the map real quick. Let's see where we're at. I think we're through much of the winding roads at this point. I'd say the car did a great job. I haven't touched anything. We had that dog run out and the car stopped, let the oncoming car pass through. Very respectful, and we kept moving. We did kind of run into that very thin vine. It wasn't a branch. It was just a vine. No problems there. Maybe I probably, if I could have, would have moved out of the way as a human, but I don't mind how it treated that. Um, so FSD, you're doing a great job so far. We got a speed bump coming up here, and we are slowing down for that. Chill mode has been absolutely awesome. I started using it a few days ago, and I was driving in Mad Max, and it did feel crazy. That is not a mode that I'm going to use regularly. Chill mode feels like exactly a, not necessarily chill, but it feels exactly as like normal driving, what I would describe as normal driving is. You're going a couple over the speed limit. You mainly stay to the right side of the road, and occasionally you pass. Um, Chill mode feels really good. Standard feels more like I'm in a hurry. I've seen standard go 10, 15 over the speed limit. Um, really weaving in and out. We've got a construction man here holding a stop sign. He just flipped it. Uh, he flipped it to slow and then he back to stop. Let's see what we get here. I think we're waiting on some oncoming traffic. Looks like there's a bus down there. All right, here we go. So we got the go ahead. Handled perfectly. Absolutely perfectly. Good job, FSD. That is fantastic. Um, the other day, I will say, I went through a military gate at Pearl Harbor. No intervention. FSD drove perfectly through that scenario. For those of you who've been through a military gate, it's kind of different than a normal gate in that you have to stop at a stop line, and then when the guard waves you forward, you drive up, show them your ID, they give it back to you, and then you go on your way. And that to me is kind of like final boss level of all boss levels tests when it comes to gates, because you're relying on super tight conditions where there's literally pedestrians standing on both sides of your car, like on the line, and you're relying on hand signals, and you want to stop at the stop sign. You don't want to go when it's open. You only want to go when the pedestrian waves you forward, right? And the car did it perfectly. I was absolutely floored. If you guys want to see that tested out on camera, let me know. I'll see what I can do. Got about 10 minutes here. You're still hanging in with me. Thank you so much. Please do like, subscribe if you want to see more. I really appreciate all your time watching. We're headed to world's busiest Costco, and FSD's been doing a fantastic job. Again, I can't say it enough. Chill in previous versions was a little too chill for me. Now it feels almost perfect. It is just like normal around town driving. And that's what most people want to see from FSD. For those times that I'm in a rush, late to the office, I need to hurry. Sure, I've got hurry, I've got Mad Max even. I don't think those are modes I'm just gonna sit in as a default. While I'm thinking about it, let's make sure we have parking lot selected. Perfect. I think the car might have did that automatically for us. And I do see I've got that lovely software update icon up there. I checked it before I started rolling the video. It came up right around when I was on my way up to the top of the mountain. Looks like it's just a navigation data update. So I'll definitely get that done. I see the sign there for photo enforced at this intersection. Those of you in Hawaii know we just got speed cameras this year, and they've been issuing these preliminary citations, sending them out via mail, and they go into full effect tomorrow, November 1st. So I'm interested to see, will this navigation update include those new speed cameras? Because I have not seen them on the map. I really hope it does, because that is something that we need to know, especially when you've got modes like Mad Max and Hurry going 15, 20 over the speed limit. For now, I'm good and chill. I'm not sure what type of traffic we'll encounter here, but as we approach the Costco area, this area, aside from being the world's busiest Costco, also has just had incredible amounts of construction and rough roads, changes to the road route, all kinds of stuff in that area, which have made it even more congested. Looks like we're seeing some of that ahead already as these cars from the left merge into our lane. And FSD is creating a gap here for this person. Very good, very courteous, natural, feels good. Haven't had too much luck with the pothole avoidance. We hit one up there on the mountain. I've been hitting them in there in my personal driving all the time too. I'd like to see it go around potholes a little bit better. I've seen videos of it doing it. I just haven't experienced it yet. Here's those rough roads I was talking about. And normally, in the before times of this construction, we could just make a left here, but it is a no turn. So we need to stay right here, go straight, and make a left at the following light. Cone in the road. Great job going around. No hesitation, smooth. If you're still with me, thank you so much. Throw a shotgun in the comments, let me know. Uh, looks like actually, I think it's pulling into the Costco gas, so I may have put in the wrong destination. Let's change it here and put it to the actual Costco, the main warehouse. It should be kind of there. That pin looks a little not at the front door, but huh. Strange route. Strange route. It just rerouted again. That doesn't look right. It's having us go straight and then turn around and come back through. No, that can't be right. We should make a left at this light up here. Let's see what it does. Hopefully the vision navigation will override what the map is telling us. Looks like it's going around. I do not want to do that. So I'm going to put in the tire center because that's closer to where I want to go. Let's see, will that work? Weird. Hmm. Didn't have to take over though. Let's pull up our cameras as we get into this more congested area. FSD wants to go around. Chill, just chill. Chill. All right. We're going over the yellow a little bit, not all the way over, but I did feel the little reflector bumps as we went over them. But we did get around that truck. I probably, as a human, would have just chilled a little bit and wait for the light to turn green. But okay, FSD. Are you gonna go? Nope. I moved my foot over the accelerator there just out of habit, did not touch it. Are you going to take this one? Here, we're creeping up. All right, now just because you're in chill doesn't mean you can't assert yourself here. Let's creep through a little bit. We have some oncoming traffic, but we can't really see around them, so we're going to have to creep. And you just lost your chance. You got to go. You got to be assertive, even in a chill profile, with respect to decision making. As we sit here longer, I'm feeling nervous we're going to get cut off. Here it goes by the light change. So we're going to take this yellow and through the red. Now we were already in the intersection when the light turned red, so there wasn't much we could do other than move through. But here we are in the parking lot of the world's busiest Costco. Let's see what it's going to do. I expect it to move to the front of the store, which I have the tire center in here because of that weird navigation thing we had back there. I expect it to move to the pin and then start hunting for parking. I wish it would, especially in this Costco, just the first spot you see, take it immediately. Um, we'll see how this plays out. Lots of traffic here as we have these cars from the right exiting the parking garage and turning into and out of this Costco parking lot. So it looks like we are moving towards the pin, which is the tire center. That's right here on the left. I expect us to be moving through these aisles here soon. Will it find a spot? And we're on the hunt. This is the tire center spot, so we cannot park in that one. What are you gonna do? I'll be surprised if it finds a spot over here. I think we're gonna have to go more towards the main road, back that way, to find a spot. Here's one. The guy in front of us is grabbing it. And see, this is where a human would see these people up here and just watch where are they going. Are they going to their car? Is it nearby? Oh, this guy looked like he was going to cut in front of us for a second. Um, where are they going? Can I grab their spot? It looks like they were going just behind us. FSD probably should have gave that guy a little bit more room to back in. This car behind us is in the tire inflation parking, so that is also not a spot. FSD is trying to move out of their way, it looks like. Feels a little awkward as these people are waiting in line, but I'm sure it was getting out of their way to give them more space. This is difficult. I don't know how much time this is going to take. If we're just driving around hoping for a spot to magically open right when we happen to be driving by, I don't know how much time that will take to happen. FSD is really asserting itself through here, moving through. I like that it's abandoning that aisle because it was just tied up with way too much traffic. We need to move over there to have a better chance of finding parking. I'm not saying we can't find it over here. I'm just saying over there are more spaces that we're likely to get open, to catch open. I know we have the tire center here as our pin, and we should, yeah, try and get a spot around here if we can. But if you're going through and every spot is taken like this, let's look over there. Let's start looking farther away. Let's watch what the people are doing. It looks like this person's putting his cart away, but this car's got their turn signal on for it. So we're gonna let him go. Good job. No, now that, okay. Okay, we're putting on our left turn signal to go down another aisle. I'm good with that. That's what we need to do. These spots here are employee parking by permit only to the right of us, so we can't take those. And here's one opening up, but it looks like that car is waiting for him already. That said, FSD, do you see that person putting away their groceries on the left? Wait for them. Just chill right here. Do what the profile says and chill. Wait right here. And we're driving past. So I know in future versions, we're supposed to get logic and improved parking and all these things. So I really want to see Tesla incorporate some of these more nuanced parking decisions to FSD. It's great now that it can park at the destination, but the bigger battle is finding a spot. And that's not an easy problem to solve. We're coming back up here on the tire center parking spot. We cannot park here. We do have the tire shop as a pin. So I don't know, maybe I give it a pass on this one. Maybe that's on me. But FSD is taking the spot. I don't know. How would it know that we can park here? It would need to have some sort of authorization from me, or ahead of time I tell it, I guess because we have the tire shop as the destination and the spot says tire shop, maybe the car in future versions would be able to reason that that is an acceptable place to park. I don't know. But we are here, world's busiest Costco. We parked, we went through the mountains, through all those winding roads. Let me know what you think, guys. Uh, do you use FSD? What's it going to take to get people to use the system? What improvements need to be made, if any? Um, and how do you think Tesla is going to get people to use FSD and get widespread adoption? Thanks so much for tuning in. I appreciate all of you. Aloha.